What's up everyone, it's OJH and we're back at it again, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about the patch notes for Season 3 and the update 4.0.0. Not any huge content changes in this, but plenty to get into. The community are not that happy about some of these changes, so let's dive straight into it with the PvP changes first, and that's kind of the biggest thing within this. So the modifiers will and the changes will be going live shortly. I think it was due to be yesterday on the 24th. It may well be today on the 25th. I don't know if they've confirmed that yet. But one of the biggest changes is to war chest crests. So at the end of a season, if you were above, I think it was 3,000 honor, that you would be reset down to something. I don't know exactly what you were reset down to, but at the start of the new season, you used to get war chest crests based on the honor that you were reset to. So let's have a read of this. Your war chest crest will no longer be immediately granted based on players' new honor after a season reset, or re-earn for honor below that value. Instead, all War Crest chest rewards per 200 honor gained per family have been greatly increased. So here's the table then for the honor increases. So that it's going to be 100 crests for every 200 honor gained. But if we just go back slightly, like I was saying before, on season reset, your war chest, your PvP honor points were reset. And those would be converted to war chest crests, which would go towards the PvP rewards at 10,000, 20,000 and 30,000 points. If you were about 3,000 honor, you'd get roughly, or it might have been exactly 300 crests in the old system. In the new system, to get 300 crests, you're going to have to climb 600 honor. So clearly, people are not very happy about this. This is a pretty big change. You're going to have gone from getting those 300 crests as a given at the start of the season, but now you're going to have to grind 600 honor, and at the higher honor ranges, that could be quite difficult to just pull out the bag. So people are not happy about that. I don't think it's a particularly good change. I think that there may well be a potential that with the increased honor per 200, with the increased crest per 200 honor, that there's trying to be an encouragement to get people into PvP. Quite a few people are getting towards the end of the PvE campaign, have beaten Onyxia, so there's not much to do apart from PvP at the moment for some people. So I think they may be trying to encourage people to do PvP, but there are other issues with PvP that I'd prefer to see addressed, and I'll cover them later. But this has been a biggie in the community. So yeah, Warcraft changes will be coming in the next update. That'll be pretty soon. That should hopefully be dropping today, possibly. Structural changes, so maps will now be selected at random when you match an opponent. I personally think this is a really good change. I've played a lot of games in the past, particularly things like Clash Royale. No disrespect to Clash Royale, but it is a 2-lane map regardless. The graphics change, but it's exactly the same map. And I think that a random map in this PvP will help to keep the game fresher, and it means that there isn't going to be a stale meta. Now I know there'll be people that like to level up their favourite cards and play their favourite strategies, but after a while, if there is a set meta and everybody's playing the same kind of decks and it becomes very predictable, I think that the game can become quite boring and quite stale quite quickly. So I'd much prefer there to be some changes, and you may not have the optimal deck for a particular map, but it's about being able to adjust your strategy and display levels of skill to be able to overcome the challenges of your opponent's deck and a map that's maybe not optimal to your deck. So I think that this will give good variety, it will keep it feeling fresh, and it'll be something completely different. It's a good way, in my opinion, to keep the meta changing, to shake it up a little bit and see what comes out of it. But let me know in the comments if you would prefer for the map to stay the same, because I know that not everyone is going to agree with my point of view on that, and that is absolutely fine. So the previous rotating map modifier will be replaced with a new modifier type, which is enchants. I covered enchants in my Season 3 changes patch video a couple of days, possibly a week ago. The enchants are designed to develop as the game goes on. That doesn't mean that the enchant changes, it just means that it will have an impact that grows throughout the course of a battle. For example, the first enchant here is the collateral damage, which causes player bases to take damage whenever a tower they control is captured. Now, I don't know the exact specifics of this enchant, as in, if you lose a tower, you then take damage to your base. If you then win that tower back, immediately, does the enemy then take damage to their base? And if they retake it, do you then take damage to your base? And therefore, can you then lose the whole game solely just by losing your siege tower repeatedly? So I don't know the specifics of how collateral damage works, but as you can see, in the duration of a PvP match, that will have a greater influence as the match goes on. So that is going to be good. That's going to be interesting to keep that going. And then down here, there is the mod. There is a new mod called Bounty Hunt. Bounty Hunt awards an additional gold for every 5 enemies killed, for 5 enemy minis killed. So your squad decks on this particular modifier may want to avoid them. They may not be particularly strong, but again, I think this is a good way with the enchants, with the modifiers, and with the map rotation to keep the PvP feeling interesting and engaging, and stop it from becoming one sole meta and becoming a little bit stale and boring very quickly. Let me know your thoughts on the enchants, the mods, and the map changes. Additional PvP changes or improvements is that PvP runs will now award 2 pips in your daily rewards. So your daily rewards, there are 3 daily rewards. You need 3 pips to complete each reward. So you need 9 in total. I don't think that was a huge amount. I don't play massive amounts, but I play enough to get that done. But this will make it even easier for you to get the daily rewards. And given that your daily reward pips are completed when you beat bosses in a dungeon on each level, that should be able to get your daily rewards every day quite simply, quite straightforward, and that's sped that up. So that is a decent change there. PvP wins will now re-roll green quests. Green quests, as you will probably know, offer about 90 experience later on in the game. That 90 experience, when you've got minis needing 25,000 plus experience to level, is an absolute pittance. Green quests people used to complete just so they could get to a blue or a purple quest. The way to optimize this now will be, if you have a green quest in your log, which is the next quest, play some PvP. That will re-roll the green quest. It may re-roll it to another green one, but eventually it will re-roll to a blue or a purple. So the way to optimize it will be PvP until a blue or a purple arrives, do that blue or purple, and then go back to your PvP until a blue or a purple arrives again. So this is a good way of not getting bogged down with just doing green quests just for the sake of having to complete a quest, just for something better to turn up. And then on the PvP, players will earn slightly more honour if the leader being played is below the average honour of their top 3 leaders. Now, there are good things and bad things with all this, but we'll get to we'll do the good first and then we'll get to the bad. So, this is great if you've got leaders that you are playing catch up with. You've already got your 3 leaders, your top 3. You've got an average of them. You've proven that you can play at that level. So you'll be able to improve the honour score of your lower leaders quicker. And if a new leader is released, Emperor Thorassan, for example, who is on 0 honour, you won't have to go through the enormous grind of getting that leader to catch up with all the rest. I think this is a really good change, and it cuts out some of the grinding, which can just feel tedious. Secondly, if the leader being played has fallen below that leader's peak honour for the current season, so if you do lose a game or if you go on a little bit of a tilt, then to regain yourself back to your former glory should be that little bit simpler, should be that little bit quicker for you to get back. Again, I'm happy with that change, because being on a tilt is rubbish, especially when you know that you've lost 5 and the only way you're going to be able to get back is by winning 5 or 6. And finally, if you won several matches in a row and is considered to be on a win streak, that you will get slightly more honour. So this will mean that you should, if you're on a win streak, be able to push your minis honour higher anyway. I don't know if this combines with the first point, therefore Emperor Thurasan as an example, if you are trying to catch the Emperor up, he will be below your average of your top 3. You may well, because you'll be in a lower honour rating, be able to get yourself onto a win streak, and therefore you will qualify for slightly more honour from points 1 and points 3. And I don't know if that will give you double of whatever slightly more honour means. So that'll be interesting to see how that actually pans out. Some of the issues with this then, and there will be many, plenty and wide, I'm sure, but off the top of my head, that if you are pushing minis higher, or if you're pushing more minis up towards 3,000 and beyond, that you're then going to find yourself even quicker in the 9k and above bracket. And above 9k, with the average of 3,000 across 3 of your leaders, is where the level caps stop. And the feedback from my community is that this is where things become less exciting in the PvP world, solely because you, with your level 8, 7, 8 cards, will be going up against players with level 9 and 10 cards, and you'll be steamrolled solely by the fact that their deck is stronger than yours, not necessarily because they are more skillful. And I did hear that somebody was going up against a level 10 Molten Giant. The leader was Emperor Thurasan with the Hubris talent. The Molten Giant was played at level 12 and pretty much tanked the whole defending deck and took the tower. So things like that are going to be really, really unfun to play against. So I think fundamentally that level caps above 3,000 honour, above the current level 7, so it's level 7 cap at 3,000, then unlimited thereafter. I think level cap after that to 8 or 9 would help make it a little bit of a more enjoyable experience for people who hit 9,000. But that is, but we'll see how that pans out. I know the devs are looking into PvP, and we'll see what changes that they can come up with there. So treasure chests will now spawn 15 seconds after a match begins rather than immediately, giving players some time to contest. I think this is a really, really good change. On certain maps, that there will be a chest that deploys near your base and one that deploys near the enemies. If you have an Unbound in hand, then there is potential that you can steal the opponent's chest and then casually stroll up to your own and take the gold from both. You can potentially safe pilot their chest, just take that gold straight away. So you've got 2 gold, you've denied them 2 gold, and then you can walk up to yours. With there being a 15-second delay, it will give you the opportunity to, first and foremost, get yourself a mini on the map progressing towards the chest, or to be able to sort your card cycle out to be able to get to the mini that you need or the mini that you want to be able to make an impact on that chest. So I think this is a good change. This just stops the RNG of your opening hand. Apparently there's been a resolution to a rare situation where players will be silently matched with a ghost game and lose honour if they left the PvP queue. Honestly, I've never come up against, I've never experienced that, but it sounds rubbish, so I'm glad that that's been resolved. And there's another issue where if a mini was dragged out of your card and then you didn't, out of your trait, and then you didn't play it, that it would not appear back in your tray. So again, I've never experienced that, but that sounds rubbish as well, so I'm glad that that's been addressed. So on to some of the quality of life changes. Guilds, so players can now use their equipped emotes in the guild chat. So if you've got people that like spamming emotes in the guild chat, then you can get into that, and that might become a bit more interesting as more emotes are released. For Arclight Surges, the Arclight Surge started pop-up, the little safe pilot banner that comes up at the top of the screen saying that there is a surge, has been going a little bit wild recently. It's been popping up left, right and centre. It's been saying that all sorts is surging. When you get there, it isn't. It's just not working as it's intended at the moment, so they're going to change that. There's also been with surges that some people surge, it's always the same zone, going up against the same 5 bosses within every couple of days, and that's getting a bit tedious. That's a known bug as well, and that's being addressed. And then finally, on the grid, so mini info and talent info can now be viewed for items in the grid, and the talents in the grid will now display the name of the mini that they belong to. I know there's been, when you get a new talent, the portrait of the mini slightly changes. Sometimes it's not always super obvious, which mini that talent relates to, and even if you read the description, it's not always that obvious. I know certain people that I've spoken to been a little bit confused by it, especially some of the newer players. So you end up finding the talent in the grid, then you have to go back to your main deck, have a look at the mini that you think it relates to, bit of back and forth. It's just it just needs tidying up, and it is being tidied up. They're going to have all that details in the grid for you, so that's a much better change. Relics then, and we're getting on to some of the changes, which is benefits that we've been receiving in the game, or multipliers that we've been receiving in the game, which have been incorrectly applied. So these are going to feel like nerfs, but it's just the way it was always intended to be. So we'll get into them. So there's going to be the Aegis of Battle, which now causes critical striking minis to deal 2 times damage. We have been getting 3 times damage. Don't know if anybody noticed that or anyone knew, but the Aegis of Battle relic has been a bit overpowered, so that's been slightly tuned. Shadowblade's description has been updated to clarify how bonus damage works. Okay. And then there are the 6 new relics which are coming in, which I did cover in my Season 3 update video. There are 3 relics which are revolving around minis and getting to 50% health. That's a Bloodlust, a Smoke Bomb, and a Blink, although Blink is temporarily not being implemented because of a bug that is with that, so wait out for that one. And then the other 3 leave behind something for your allies to benefit from. So spells leave behind a Mantle Crystal, which will give the first ally mini resist. On death, your minis on the next 2 will either leave behind the Heart of Fire, which grants double damage, again only to your ally, or on death, a mini leaves behind a flower, which will heal the next ally to touch it. So there's some good stuff there, which will only affect your minis. So hopefully that'll shake up the dungeon game and keep that engaging. Finally then, some of the changes here. So this could be down as the buffs and nerfs, but there's just some slight alterations and things that weren't quite working the way that they should have been. So Baron was able to spawn skeletons from a under construction tower or meeting stone that was being captured. That's not the way that it was designed to be. That meeting stone or that siege tower is not functioning as it in its full capacity. You can't use that meeting stone or siege tower as a deployment zone for any other troops. But skeletons, Baron skeletons, were spawning from those points. That's not how it was intended to be. So unfortunately, that is going to stop. I've seen that people said that this is quite a big nerf to Baron. I think it's just one, or it's just a skeleton. For me, I don't think it's a huge nerf. I still think that Baron will be strong. But let me know if you disagree. Let me know your thoughts on the Baron change in the comments. Care next, during Bloodsport surges, if Kain died and then had the rebirth talent, the resurrection talent, he would come back without Bloodlust. That was incorrect, so that's been amended. He will now come back with Bloodlust, the same as the rest of the minis on the map. Emperor Thaurissan now has the Bombard talent. All of us content creators, when we did our Season 3 update, presented, but they would have the Bombard talent. The Bombard talent highlights or distinguishes a mini that can only hit ground units. It does not have an air ability. That is the Emperor. The Bombard talent should have been there from the start. It wasn't. It now will be. And then finally on the leaders, Tyrion's Divine Shield talent should now properly ignore damage from an enemy Drakkisath. So Drakkisath was Tyrion's kryptonite. He completely ignored the shield talent. That was not intended to be the case, so that has been adjusted. So Tyrion's Divine Shield talent should now work properly against the general. Some troop updates then, so Angry Chickens and their Walking Crate talent were being polymorphed, which was not supposed to be the case, and they were also being hit by enemies below the bridge. The bridge is a weird one because sometimes you can hit from above the bridge to enemies below, sometimes you hit enemies below through the bridge, sometimes you can't hit through the bridge, and then in this occasion, enemies were hitting from below up to the bridge. I'm not sure how the bridge is supposed to work, but there seems to be some inconsistencies around the bridge at the moment. One of them involved the Angry Chickens. That's been solved. Corehound's Guard Dog talent should now 50% damage as intended. It was given 150% extra damage, so that's a pretty big nerf. But again, that's not... It was kind of overpowered by accident, so the Corehounds are getting a little bit of a nerf there. The Gnoll Brute's Pillage talent should now properly activate Sneed before Greed. The Pillage talent is that it will that the Gnoll Brute will deal siege damage. So that should have been working all along, and it wasn't, but now it is. The Griffin Rider's Mighty Throw talent should no longer cause her to switch targets sporadically. Griffin Rider at some point would be attacking one target and then would just change its mind, go and attack something else, and then change its mind again and go and attack something else. Didn't really know what was going on with the Griffin Rider with the Mighty Throw talent, which gives you the extended, I think it's a +3 range. Anyway, that should all be sorted. Griffin Rider will lock onto one talent. Griffin Rider will lock onto one target and will keep attacking that target until it's either out of range or dead. Huntress, Darnassian Steel talent was given a +1 range. I don't know if anybody noticed that. I certainly didn't notice that. That was unintended, so that's gone. Safe Pilot's Gnomish cloaking device wasn't properly attacking when bloodlusted, so it is now. And then Spiderlings and Plague Farmer have been given the Elemental talent clearly. They deal elemental damage. They should have had that from the beginning. They didn't. They now do, and that is active in the game. I've checked that. The final two changes, or the final two sort of mini updates, are to spells. So Blizzard's Cold Tap talent should properly stop enemy movement, even if the enemy has a speed buff. So no sprinting through there. None of your Goblin Sappers legging it through your Blizzard. No, not anymore. Not happening. You're going to be frozen. And then Cheat Death's Vampirism talent should now properly trigger. This was that minis would be healed when they were dealing damage. I think that when affected minis were dealing damage to bosses, for some reason they weren't being healed. Gives them an extra capacity to stay alive that little bit longer, which should be massive, but we haven't been getting that benefit. We now will get that benefit. That is the patch notes for Season 3 and patch 4.0.0. Please let me know what you think in the comments. There's been some mixed reviews. I think there's some good stuff in here. I think there's some not so good stuff in here. I do plan on doing a video in the future about the changes I would like to see to the game. A number of them do revolve around PvP. I'm hoping at some point we're going to see things like the Moonglade area that comes, raids for sure, and there is another area on one of the maps which has no name on it at the moment. It's a little brown area, so that'll be interesting to see what the plan is for that. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video useful, then give it a thumbs up, get yourself subscribed for more Warcraft Rumble content, and I'll see you in the next one.